Hey guys, today I'm going to show how we replaced the transmission on this 2015 Honda Accord. And if you want to know why this car getting a new transmission, please check out my other video link in the description. Apparently, to get the transmission out, we need to remove the front exhaust pipe, subframe, steering rack, and then you can get the transmission out from the bottom. Since we don't have a hoist to do all that, we will be pulling the engine and transmission out from the top. I know this might sound stupid, but trust me, if you don't have a hoist, it's a lot easier to pull them out together. I guess that's enough talking. Let me show you how we did it. So first off, I removed the battery tray, and the intake box. And then I removed the strut bar. And here we are disconnecting the ECM, and that's out of the way. And by the way, these are the 3 harnesses I had to disconnect to get the ECM out. Now we are draining the coolant because we are going to remove the radiator and the cooling fans together. This will give us a little more space to work with. After that, we disconnected these 2 wires and set this fuse box to the side. Now the fuse box is out of the way, and I had to disconnect some more wires underneath. With all that disconnected, we don't have to work with any more wiring harness, because the rest of the wiring harness will come out with the engine and transmission. To get the radiator and fans out, we had to disconnect these wiring harnesses at the bottom and also the lower and upper radiator hoses. And that's how we got the radiator out. Now working on removing the serpentine belt. After removing the belt, we took the AC compressor off and left it on a side. By doing it this way, we don't have to recharge the AC system. Draining the transmission fluid now. Since we have a broken transmission, I was expecting to see some debris or metal in the fluid. But to my surprise, it was clean. The only complaint I had was that the oil smelled really bad. After that, we separated the ball joints and removed front both axles. Now to the exhaust part. We did not completely remove the exhaust pipe. We disconnected it at these 3 locations and left it hanging. Now moving on to the engine mounts. So we had to undo a total of 5 mounts at these 5 locations. I almost forgot the shifter cable. Let's get it out. Besides the engine mounts, there were a few rubber hoses we had to disconnect. With all that out of the way, we got the engine and tranny out. Here we are disconnecting all the necessary stuff to pull the transmission off. We had to lift the engine and tranny again because I forgot to remove the torque converter bolts. I know I should have done this when it was in the car, but I forgot, so I had to do it this way. After removing all the bell housing bolt, we finally got the transmission pulled off from the engine. I don't know if you noticed, our torque converter got stuck on the engine. I used a pry bar to get it off. Here we are getting the used transmission ready for install. While we were trying to put everything back together, we noticed something wrong with our new transmission. Yeah, there was a yellow plastic wrap in the oil pan. So I had no idea why they did this. So I called up the parts guy the next day and asked him why there is a yellow plastic wrap in the oil pan. He said they always do this so the buyer gets forced to replace the oil filters before the installation. To be honest, that was something new to me because I never heard anything like that before. But anyways, I went to Honda, got all the necessary filters and gaskets for this install. Let's get it done. First, I'm going to replace the transmission oil filter located under the oil warmer. And these are the 3 O-rings we need for this install. After removing the 3 bolts, I got the warmer off. Now it's time to pull the filter out. Check out the difference, guys. Compared to the new one, the old one looks really dark. I guess it's good we are doing the service now. Let's get the new O-ring on. Push the filter in. Clean up the surface. Install the new O-rings for the warmer and get it back on. Now that's out of the way, moving on to the oil pan. Remove all that 10 mils. We got the pan off, now we can start replacing that strainer. There are only 2 bolts holding the strainer. After removing it, just pull the filter off. Again, the old one looks really dark. Let's get the new filter back on. Now installing the pan back on with the new gasket. With all that done, now we are ready to assemble it together. Now we have the engine and tranny put together and it's time to install it back in the car. As you can see, we were trying to line up all the engine and tranny mounts as we were lowering it down. Alright guys, now we have the engine and tranny back in the car. It's time to put everything back together. Now working on installing the axles and exhaust. Here we are filling the transmission with Honda's HCF2 CVT fluid. Since this transmission doesn't come with any fluid, we did our initial fill with 6 liters of oil. But don't worry, we will check the oil level later in the video. Now it's time to see if the car actually runs.
Yep. Okay.
As you can see, the car is moving on its own. Looks like we have a fix, guys. Okay, Before we go on a test drive, we need to check the oil level. To check the oil level, the vehicle needs to be parked on a level ground. That's why I have lifted both the front and back of the car. After we had the car lifted, we started the car and went through each gear and stayed in that gear for 3 seconds and followed that same 3-second rule when getting it back into park. Once we done that, we turned off the engine and I went underneath to loosen up that oil level check bolt. If you see it from underneath, it's just located above the drain plug. Now I'm looking at the check bolt from the top. It looks like we don't need the car lifted to check the oil level. As you can see, I was able to check the oil level from the top. But anyways, I have it lifted. Let's keep moving. Now I took the check bolt out and I don't see any fluid dripping. That means we are low on oil. So let's install the check bolt back and leave it hand tight, because the check bolt must be on when filling up the transmission. We already had 6 liters of oil in, so I'm just gonna add another liter. We got the 1 liter in. Let's remove that check bolt again and see if the level is good now. Yep, I see it running. We will install the check bolt back on when it starts dripping. We are almost done here checking the oil level. It's time for a test drive. So we just finished up the test drive, guys. The car is running perfect. So there's one more thing left to do, which is we have to do a full system scan to see if there's any trouble codes. As I expected, there was no trouble codes. It came out clean. In the scan tool, there was an option to reset TCM, so I did that as well. I don't know if that's going to make a difference, but it's good to have your old data cleared from the computer. And finally, I want to show you guys the comparison between a working and a broken transmission. So if you see these two pictures side by side, both transmissions had input reading, but only the working transmission had output reading. This pretty much shows that we had something internally broken in our old transmission. That's why it couldn't output anything. So that was enough for me to call for a new transmission. And that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you find this video helpful, please leave a like and consider subscribing. And I will see you guys on the next one.